Hello everyone, I hope you're doing really well. It's the 25th of August 2025. I'm Gary Waterman, a former UK police constable, and this is a critical update for you in relation to what's going on in the world at the moment and how that ties in to the international government fraud that is being exposed. And that is that since 2022 I've acquired irrefutable, verifiable and corroborative evidence with the help of others along the way of an international criminal system whereby our governments and their organisations have been forging the Companies House registration systems and creating criminal fraudulent entity companies that are now running the world. It has been deliberately allowing them to funnel trillions of pounds from you through taxation and other financial institutions into what appears to be a very sinister agenda. But it also knowingly facilitates international conflicts, terrorism, and the most horrendous crimes against children. And that does appear to be a huge part of this, where it's not only their sexual abuse, but their torture and unaliving being a very key part of all of this. This is now being connected into notorious self-proclaimed gangsters such as Dave Courtney, linking in with the Kray twins and what appears to be the infiltration and removal of the royal family in the late 1950s, early 1960s, leading up to where we are now. And it's very clear that our governments now are panicking, and what they're trying to do with the help of Tommy Robinson and others and the immigration agenda is push you into a situation where there may be a civil uprising. So you have the likes of Tommy Robinson, Charlie Veitch, that are trying to create trigger points for that to happen, also utilising actors that will be going to these protests and things like that. So there's absolutely no point in going to protests, okay, because all you're doing is facilitating their ability, their stage, if you like, to use that to steer the narrative and the agenda in the way that they want to in all of this as they become exposed. So what you need to do is direct your energy, okay, and your efforts back into targeting in the right way, peacefully, legally, the system. So I'm going to tell you what you need to do that. But first of all, we're going to have a quick look at the Albert Pike document and see how that ties into what we're seeing play out at the moment. This some time ago, and with everything that we're seeing, I suspect that this is genuine, and I'm finding connections within the Companies House records that supports this. Okay, so this is just supplementary to what is in the Companies House records, which is the government's own registration system. And it says Albert Pike letter to Mazzini, the Illuminati plan for 3 world wars, August the 15th, 1871. The following is a letter that speculation claimed that Albert Pike wrote to Mazzini in 1871 regarding a conspiracy involving 3 world wars that were planned in an attempt to take over the world. Now that's 100 years before the creation of the World Economic Forum in 1971. Reading on, it says the Pike letter to Mazzini was on display in the British Museum Library in London until 1977. That is the year I was born. And there's lots of evidence I'm going to show you, for whatever reason, how important my positioning is in all of this. Okay, so I've now found connections to my family almost directly to the main Freemasons Lodge, to Elon Musk, to Julian Assange, to David Icke, to Donald Trump, to Jimmy Savile. Okay, and I'm going to be exposing them in the evidence soon. I was never a Freemason, never had anything to do with it whatsoever. Okay, and this letter was removed the year I was born, okay, from the British Museum Library. And when I've researched through Companies House, coming in from Jeffrey Epstein, there is the British Museum Library Company. When you come in from the adrenochrome evidence, okay, the blood taken from tortured children, there is the British Museum, okay, company again, all right, and this links into the international government fraud. Reading on, it says this letter has been claimed by many internet sites to reside in the British Library in London, which denies the letter exists. Mazzini was an Italian revolutionary leader for the mid-1800s, as well as the director of the Illuminati. So mid-1800s ties in with the creation of Companies House in 1844, and then 3 years later was a company called Siemens, okay, was incorporated or founded, and that company is linked to the Nazi regime, and they set aside $50 million a year for bribery to expand their business around the world. That's a technological company that is linked into the Collider technology, okay, and at that company, its main company was founded in 1962, and that is around the same time that it looks as though the infiltration of the royal family occurred. And for the first time since 1962, that company changed its name in May this year as I expose them and the link into all of this of what I'm exposing. Reading on, it says Albert Pike who was a historical Masonic figure, was a 33rd degree Freemason, occultist, Grand Master and creator of the southern jurisdiction of the Masonic Scottish Rite Order. Now this is very relevant because the oldest active Freemason lodge, according to the research, is in Edinburgh. Okay, it's a key location into all of this, and it mentions the Scottish Rite here, Freemasons. Now, I have information that suggests that Edinburgh is the real Jerusalem, and there's evidence tying into the Stone of Crone or Stone of Destiny, where that is normally kept, so according to the research, at Edinburgh, and that this may have been stolen and a fake stone used for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth in 1953, which is the same year, okay, that the MK Ultra program was started, linking into the intelligence agencies, and that had actually stemmed from Operation Paperclip, which connects back into the Nazi regime and Werner von Braun, who was brought across from the Nazi regime to America, and he had connections to Walt Disney, which again links into the infiltration of the royal family from the evidence, but he was also connected to Hitler, okay, and the Flemings, who initiated my removal, connects to Werner von Braun. Okay, and Werner von Braun was given the name as the father of NASA, which then ties in to the royal family, okay, because in 1958, Prince Charles was initiated to become the Prince of Wales in 1969. That is when NASA was created by JFK, and then in 1969 is when the first moon landing supposedly happened, which is when Prince Charles became the Prince of Wales, and Wales is where Companies House was set up, and they're the ones creating the criminal fraudulent entity companies. Reading on, it says following are apparently extracts from the letter showing how 3 world wars have been planned for many generations. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati, which links to the Vatican, okay, and I've now got connections into this fraud and the Vatican and the Church of England, and of course the Freemasons in a huge way. And this was in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia, and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agentur, or agents of the Illuminati, between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism is strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. Okay, this is all connected into what we're seeing going on with Israel at the moment. But it's an infiltration of every faith group by cults, okay, to make you believe that it is a faith or ethnicity issue. And that's what we're seeing with the immigration agenda at the moment. And we're going to come to a little bit more on that later. Reading on, it says, during the Second World War, international communism must be become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held back in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. So obviously the Second World War was some time ago. There's been quite a big gap, and it appears as though the exposure of this international government fraud, which it looks like started with the Pizzagate scandal linking with American politics and Hillary Clinton, okay, followed up by Gordon Bowden making a connection to 788 to 790 Finchley Road and the non-verification within the Companies House fraud, and then me coming along in 2022 and linking this all together to the unaliving of the children. It appears as though it has triggered this Third World War, and that is why you had the infiltration or the special military operation by Putin in February 2022 when I started to make those inquiries, and as I continued the exposure, you then had on the 7th of October 2023 the supposed Hamas attack in Israel. All of the evidence suggests that was completely staged to set up a falsified biblical prophetic event that we are now being led into. So you can see they've waited, it appears. Now, the Third World War, it said, must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on the issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilizations, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So you can see how this ties in with what they're doing with the immigration agenda, and why you've got the likes of Tommy Robinson, who links to the Freemasons, links into the Pizzagate scandal via the evidence, links into what looks like international drug trafficking via a company called Brown Sugar, ties into Exbor Manor Freehold Limited very, very quickly, and links very quickly to a company called the Institute of Meat, where they've removed the company name, and that ties in to the paedophile information exchange, tying back in with the World Trade Center disaster research, and also into the Hillary Clinton element and the Pizzagate scandal evidence as well. It's all tying in extremely quickly now, and it is all now being linked in multiple ways to the infiltration of the royal family, as I've said. And this is all suggesting that what Vanessa is saying, claiming to be the real heir to the throne, appears to be true, with the vast amount of evidence that I'm now finding connecting this all together, including from the intelligence agencies, including coming in from the Pizzagate scandal, including coming in from Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which was really important in all of this, where that infiltration appeared to take place involving somebody claiming to be Walt Disney. Okay, and that there is actually a company called it's the Blackpool Pleasure Beach 1910 company, created in 1910. That was the same year as the Savile Club was created on Company's House, okay, which involves the Jimmy Savile and his family, according to the research. And that was a gentleman's club linking into the sex trade, used for the infiltration and control of governments, leading into obviously the drug trafficking element, and also into the very serious crimes involving children, and red rooms tying into all of this. If you're not aware of what red rooms are, it appears as though they are rooms used for the torturing and unaliving of people, and then live streamed. Okay, and lots of people pay lots of money to be able to control that torture and that unaliving. It's awful, and this is a huge part of all of this, and this is why I'm seeing film companies linking every area of research, including Ingenious Film Partners 2, which links to Dave Courtney, which links to the intelligence agencies, and it's also on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales company incorporation document on that company. I think it's time that the strongest amongst you step up and be counted for the innocents. So I'm going to read you something that I'm going to send to everybody on my contact list. If you're not on my contact list, then please feel free to WhatsApp me on 07883 073 043. That's 07883 073 043. If you're outside of the UK, then it's +44 7883 073 043. That's +44 7883 073 043. My email address is Gary with one R, thetruthsetsuSfree@gmail.com. That's Gary, thetruthsetsuSfree@gmail.com. And I will also be sending out an updated evidential research document proving everything I'm saying very, very soon. This is an international fraud, everybody. It's not just the United Kingdom. The evidence is now overwhelming that a centralised criminal, financial and legal system is in place. They are utilising financial advisors, accountants and solicitors on the front line that are supported by the intelligence agencies, police, councillors, members of parliament, the military and what appears to be an infiltrated royal family to commit their crimes against the masses. Now this would of course be the higher ranking officers within those organisations and those in higher positions. It appears that the governments are being controlled by an underworld network of dictators, mafia and infiltrated religious establishments. They do not appear to be thinking rationally, possibly due to the associated drug trafficking and legal and illegal sex trade causing addictions. They appear to be on the verge of self-destruction, which risks harming innocents with them. Most people within the truth movement appear to have been compromised and positioned to prevent the truth from being exposed, and I advise that anyone not focusing on the Company's House fraud to form a suitable resolution is treated with scepticism. Their agenda appears to be to use immigration and a risk of a conflict and divide between faith groups to trigger a civil uprising, possibly using infiltrated actors at protests. This risks leading to falsified biblical prophecies as the system becomes fully exposed and they become cornered, requiring ideally a scripturally related distraction to trigger a control mechanism so they can continue with their agenda, which appears to relate to a falsified tribulation period. And everyone needs to understand that we do have the Vatican behind all of this, or linked into all of this at least, also the Church of England and the Freemasons, okay, which is an important element to understand that there is very likely a spiritual conclusive agenda in this. And a lot of the people actually really involved in this, it's clear that it's not about the money, because they are living in properties that won't draw attention to them, driving in cars that won't draw attention to them. So we know this isn't about materialism for the ultimate agenda in this. The latest information suggests they are preparing for large-scale mortality, and it seems that those willing to stand for the innocents need to act now. Now, please don't fear all of this, okay? It's possible that all of the fear-mongering is a deception to draw out those that will be coming forward to implement a safeguarded system, to bring in transparency, truth as the foundation, and to ensure there is equality and fairness for everybody. And the ultimate agenda appears to be a risk to all of creation through the collider technology. But again, we have to consider, has that evidence been lined up for the right people to expose it? Okay, I'm not saying it is. At the moment, we have to consider that that risk is actually real and do what is necessary in the right way to prevent it. Reading on, it says, I believe the best way to do this is to direct the action towards the system by legally and peacefully applying pressure to the criminal financial system through the corporations. Okay, this changes the direction of what they think, okay, they can lead into an agenda and misdirection through the protests. Okay, you need to focus on what I'm suggesting based on all of the evidence I have here. Everything has now been centralized to the fraud through the control of currency production and the manufactured interest and tax rates, as well as the use of illegal drug trade and sex crimes to coercively control and bribe. All organisations are refusing to address the Companies House fraud and the deliberate crimes and suffering that comes with it. This includes around 40 referenced police reports and emails to around 650 members of Parliament by me alone being completely ignored, as shown in my evidential research document. I have yet to send my latest evidential research document to the MPs. I just want to get that to a point where it's got some more critical evidence that I've acquired more recently into it. The evidence shows that they are actively pursuing ways to continue the fraud, but try to make it appear that it is being addressed. This is now blatantly obvious, with them allowing the use of virtual secretaries and omitting secretaries from a new Companies House verification process launched in March 2025, meaning they can continue to launder the money. This shows that they are conspiring to allow international fraud and crimes against humanity to continue and bide their time for a potentially sinister plan. And this means the power of arrest actually kicks in for all heads of organisations, all MPs, all councillors, because none of them are addressing this. All chief constables of the police, the crime police and crime commissioners, etc. Okay, the heads of these organisations. Reading on, it says, I urge you all now to attend all non-essential large corporations such as McDonald's, but specifically and initially all solicitors and financial advisors and accountants, and do the following. Film the initial interaction. It is completely legal and they cannot legally prevent you from doing so, providing you are in the area to which the public have permissive access. They may try and remove that permission as soon as you start exposing them, so ensure that you say the information below as soon as you can, but you will still have time when they've asked you to leave. Okay, you still have that interim period to try and reel off this information that I'm going to give you. Ask to speak with the owner or the person with the highest position if they are not available. If there is no one else available, then just do this to the person at the front of the desk. I would advise that you use the words below or something very similar on the initial visit and do not get involved in a debate with them. A former police constable, Gary Waterman, is providing irrefutable and verifiable evidence of a centralised criminal system that is using the forgery of the Companies House register and documents to defraud trillions from the masses and knowingly and deliberately facilitate international conflicts, terrorism, and the abuse, torture, and unaliving, I'll say on here, of children, the most innocent of all. Your company has been identified as being part of that system. You therefore appear to be conspiring to allow those crimes to continue, which means that you can be arrested by the people for those crimes. The police and military are also involved, and the evidence suggests they will be using you and the system to target your families as well. I advise that you close your business today. Thank you very much. Make a note of the date and time of your visit, as well as the company name and address, and if possible, the name of the person you spoke to, and forward the details to me along with the video or a link to the video once you have posted to social media. This needs to be exposed, and those that you spoke to needs to be publicly exposed so that they know they will be arrested. If they remain operating on your second visit at least 24 hours later, I advise that you do the following. Remain calm, polite, courteous, and do not swear, but be assertive and firm in your instructions. Ensure that there are several people recording the situation. Consider asking other passers-by to be present to record it, and that after the interaction, they upload it to as many social media platforms as possible. Try and ensure that only one person who is the most confident and assertive engages in most of the communication. I would advise that you use the words below or something very similar and do not get involved in the dispute. As I have explained previously, former police Gary Waterman is providing irrefutable and verifiable evidence of a centralised criminal government system that is using the forgery of the Companies House Register and documents to defraud trillions from the masses, and that knowingly and deliberately facilitates international conflicts, terrorism, and the abuse, torture, and murder of children, the most innocent of all, unaliving. I should have said there. This organisation is part of that centralised criminal system, and you have remained operational despite having the chance to cease your activity. And I therefore believe you are conspiring to allow these crimes to continue, which is a serious indictable offence. I am not a police officer, but I have a legal power to arrest you now under Section 24A of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984, if in England and Wales, or common law if in Scotland. The necessity for your arrest is to prevent any further loss of life, as the police are refusing to respond to all reports by Gary Waterman, which have been referenced and circulated in an evidential research document. You are to remain here until the police arrive, and I advise that you also call the police. Try to avoid any physical contact with them at this time, but if contact is necessary, then it must be reasonable, and where possible, limit it to blocking escape or holding onto clothes or arms. This is to prevent them escaping so that they can be arrested, and the necessity is for an investigation and to prevent any further risk of harm to humanity or children. Arrange for someone in your group to call the police and explain the situation and arrest. I would advise that this is now done by 999, as the matter is now becoming urgent, with the risk to humanity and loss of life appearing to be potentially imminent. When the police arrive, I would advise that you speak with them outside of the premises, and it is critical that any interaction is recorded by several people. I would advise that you include the words below or something very similar when speaking with the police. Please could you initially confirm if you have any connection or affiliation to the Freemasons. This will immediately help establish if those constables are possibly personally compromised by the criminal network which is closely connected to the Freemasons. Then say to them, Police Constable Gary Waterman is providing irrefutable and verifiable evidence of a centralised criminal government system and that is using the Companies House Register and documents to defraud trillions from the masses, and that knowingly and deliberately facilitates international conflicts, terrorism, and the abuse, torture, and murder of children, the most innocent of all. There also appears to be a sinister agenda behind this that will also be used to victimise you and your family also if it continues. The document explaining everything along with the verifiable evidence can be provided to you. This organisation and therefore those working for it are part of the centralised criminals network and have been advised to stop trading. Provide the date that you did this if possible when you initially visited. But they have continued. We therefore require that you to arrest them on suspicion of conspiring to allow international fraud and crimes against humanity. To continue. The necessity to arrest is to prevent any further risk to humanity and particularly harm to children. If they are reluctant to arrest, say this to them. If you are reluctant to arrest, you will personally be considered as aiding and abetting this criminal system and its associated harm. If they still refuse to arrest, you have two options, okay? But initially, I would suggest that you withdraw and ensure maximum exposure of the interaction and those officers' criminal conduct which is supporting the crimes against children. You may decide at that time that you wish to arrest, as the timing is critical, for aiding and abetting those two police officers or however many attended. Okay, and if they resist, they're actually committing a crime by resisting, because you're legally within the law doing what you now can because the evidence is now overwhelming. It is important to note that police organisations are also confirmed as being part of the criminal network. This includes the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners Company, which is on Companies House, and also, which is now dissolved, but they had it in place, the Association of Chief Officers of the United Kingdom, I believe it's called. This exposure that you're doing will apply maximum pressure on the system that is controlled by the innocents. Okay, we want the innocents to control the exposure and how this moves forward, not them, not those people involved in this fraud, and in a way that will avoid a risk of disorder or chaos that they are hoping to achieve through protest. The exposure will help to persuade those that still believe in the police and government that they are criminal organisations supporting the world's problems. Exposure will help to persuade those that still believe in the police and government that they are actually a criminal organisation supporting the world's problems. The next interaction, if you haven't arrested the police at this time, will have to consider the arrest of the attending police officers and attempts to call further police to attend that may not be compromised by the crimes against children. There's a link to the Police and Criminal Evidence Act in this document. Now, I'm going to add to that a little bit, but that is enough at this time to get this ball rolling. I've been given permission to share this video today. This gentleman is an absolute inspiration to us all. And I woke up to messages from him. And let's look at what this man did today. And he's done this with several locations.
McKinnon Solicitors 14 Carden Place. Here we go.
And this is a solicitors in Aberdeen, and I've checked on the Companies House records and can confirm they're centralised like all of them are, and every organisation this man has been into, I have the evidence secured already confirming that they are linked to this international government fraud.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael. I'm here to document some activities that have been going on that you're probably not aware of, yeah? And the company that you're working for might be complicit in. Can maybe have someone senior within the department, please, to have a chat with.
Okay. What is it about?
It's about government corruption in Companies House.
Okay. Yeah, hold on. If you just wait over there.
Thank you.
This man in the reception is filming and he's saying that he's some senior regarding corruption in the Companies House. Yeah.
I'd rather just leave this to you because it's fine. It's a former police constable, Gary Waterman, is providing irrefutable and verifiable evidence of a centralised criminal government system that is using the forgery of the Companies House register and documents to defend trillions from the masses and knowingly, deliberately facilitate international conflicts, terrorism, and the abuse, torture, and murder of children, the most innocent of all. Your company has been identified as being part of the system. You therefore appear to be conspiring to allow those crimes to continue, which means that you can be arrested by the people for those crimes. The police and military are also involved, and the evidence suggests they will be using you and the system to target your families as well. I advise you to close your business today. You can take a screenshot of that if you want. I've sent you an email regarding this. It's an interim summary email. I've sent it by Google, and just to let you know exactly what's happening, so you know we're not just doing this because it's awful. But I thank you for your cooperation. I really do.
I'll give you this back and I'll pass this on to...
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. You've been most helpful. Thank you again.
And here is just some of the evidence in relation to that company. McKinnon's Solicitors LLP, you can see in Aberdeen here. And this person suddenly ceased to be a significant person of control as I continued the exposure. You can see on April 2024, where it appears that they were panicking. And this person was brought in, Graham Edward Jones. Now remember, there's been no verification, so they could use false details, false addresses. This person within the company, you can see McKinnon at the top there, Pamela Bursell, was appointed in 2023, possibly where they're panicking using a false name. It's quite possible because that was after the exposure. And they're connected to 4 companies. I'm just going to give you one example. There's going to be loads more when I delve further into this company. So remember, we're coming in from the director of that company, links to McKinco Nominees Limited. Here's that company, started in 1999. And on the incorporation document, you have Jordan's, the main company in the fraud. This address features throughout the fraud, 21 St Thomas Street, Bristol. This is the main company where they are funneling all of the money through, linking into Ghislaine Maxwell, okay, using a company called Astra Holdings Limited, tying in with Vistra as they're panicking for the first time ever. The main currency producer, De La Rue, has come off the London Stock Exchange since 1947, and has been purchased by Atlas Holdings Limited. Well, Atlas Holdings Limited dissolved in February 2022 as I was starting to make inquiries within Companies House. Here's another one in McKinnon's. You can see Angus Easton. Angus Easton connects to 7 companies. UPS Trading Limited. There's a UPS company that links to Jeffrey Epstein very, very quickly. I suspect this is all going to tie in when I do a bit more research on it, but there's more than enough already. And this company was incorporated in April 2025 as the exposure continues. Within that company, Mary Purdy connects to Offshore Cruising Club Limited and Unicorn Preservation Society, in brackets, the. Okay, but this is a forged register. This is a criminal organisation, and I'm going to show you why. And this is very closely linked, okay? And what they'll do is they'll be having the ability to launder money through these solicitors via these criminal organisations. And Unicorn connects to a lot of areas of the fraud. So this company was incorporated in 1968. As you can see at the bottom, oh, it's got, oh, there you go, there's another element of it. So 1968 here, incorporated on the overview, but they haven't actually put the original name on the actual overview here. Okay, now that's an element of them trying to hide the fraud. That's not illegal in itself, of course, where they made up the rules. However, the forgery is the forgery of the register. And here's the incorporation document confirming it had a name. You can see the Unicorn Preservation with the at the front. They falsified the register and put the in the brackets at the end. That's a crime. Within Unicorn, you have Chris Bowring, and he connects to YMCA, which is, I think it stands for Young Men Christians Association, doesn't it? And there's a reason that Donald Trump keeps doing the YMCA dance, okay? The YMCA links into the National Council for Civil Liberties, which links into the Paedophile Information Exchange. All connected to this, all right? On the incorporation document for that YMCA company, it's a criminal organisation because you have Oswald's of Edinburgh Limited, and you've also got Great King Street. Okay, and Oswald's links into the fraud. You can see Jordan's at the top here again. Okay, criminal organisations, and the research surrounding Oswald's links into the special advisor for the last few prime ministers and Jeffrey Epstein, links in with the Goldsmith family, and also Max Clifford and Ghislaine Maxwell and all of these people. Within the company, Unicorn, just to show you've got connections to the House of Lords. So here's Lord Carnegie. And here's Sir James Kazza, who links to Castles of Scotland Preservation Trust. I'm only showing you some of the evidence here. There's loads more. And as they panicked, they dissolved this company in June 2022, which is the month before Anthony Roberts resigned. Okay, as I started to expose the fraud, and this has been around since 1985, and suddenly they dissolved it as they're being exposed. Within the Unicorn company, Mark Gallagher connects to Diocese of Dunkeld nominees. Well, that's already connected in other areas of the fraud, and this shows the connection to the religious establishments which are massively implicated in the crimes against children and the crimes against humanity. They also have Dundee Football Club, which links into the research of the Young Foundation and other connections coming in at key times, linking in with the intelligence agencies, as you can see and search within the evidential research document. There's also tax companies. Remember, they're defrauding everybody through the taxation system through this Companies House fraud. Another connection to the government, Right Honourable Henry. And we also have within Unicorn Robert Prescott. Robert Prescott has 7 companies, including the Society for Nautical Research, that was incorporated in 1993, and it immediately links to not only the fraud, but Bates, Wells and Braithwaite is the company that is on the incorporation document for the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, and that links to the Madeleine McCann case, and also it links to P. Diddy, okay, was using Bates, Wells and Braithwaite, according to the research, for his defence. So that investigation against him was triggered as they were panicking, and they're using it to alter, conceal and destroy evidence in relation to the bigger issue of in relation to the children. We have Christopher Brandon within the the Society company we were looking at, and they link to Mary Rose Trust, which is also going into the document. Here we have Medway Maritime linking in with the naval side of things. Medway is the area where I was born in Kent, and that's a really key area in all of this, linking in with the Cray twins and the connection to the criminal underworld that appears to be involved in the initial infiltration of the royal family. You can see an address of Sittingbourne, okay, which is very close to where I was living in Kent. And then back into the Unicorn company, another Sir. And that person links to various companies, including Warrior Preservation Trust. And we have an address of Portsmouth. You can see the naval base, just making the connection, and that connects back into the Flemings, because Ian Fleming was linked to the naval industry and to the intelligence agencies, and it was Deborah Fleming who initiated my removal from Exmoor Manor for refusing to file forged bank documents. Okay, and now we know what it's really all about, linking into the crimes against children. And here you can see Ships Preservation Trust was its original name, and on its incorporation document it has Allen and Overy. That features throughout the fraud in my incorporation document. Centralised criminal fraud, that connects to Coutts and Company, which I think that's a criminal company. Actually, there's a lot more I'm going to show, but that's having a chance to go into it. In the Unicorn Trust we also have Dominic Tweedle, or Tweddle, probably made up name, linking to maritime archaeology, but also Portsmouth Historic Dockyard, Royal Marines Museum. These are all shown on my incorporation document. If you have it, you can search them and you'll see where that links in with everything. Graham Jones connects to Scotia Shipping. Now this, I believe, will link in with Bank of Scotia, or Scotia Bank, which then ties in with the World Trade Center disaster and links in at key points again with the international fraud and the infiltration of the royal family. You see it dissolved in May 2017. That's the month when Fleming Co. Limited was incorporated, which is also, last time I looked, in the process of dissolving. I've already secured the evidence, though, or being struck from the register. And this fits in with where they were panicking after the Pizzagate scandal in 2016. They brought in Donald Trump in 2017, fraudulently, I suspect, to then try and cover all of this up. And you can see, changed its name, incorporated in May 2001, changed its name in June. That's a month before Larry Silverstein purchased the lease for the World Trade Center building. And on the incorporation document, it links to Clifford Chance, which links again into the fraud. And further down on the incorporation document, page 7 of 24, you have various companies, but it also SWIFT 596, which features throughout the fraud. And SWIFT is the international transaction system, which has got a criminal company that they're using to funnel the money through into the offshore accounts. There's loads more evidence. Everybody, please pay your part. Get out there now and start shutting down these solicitors, financial advisors, and accountants and corporations that are not needed, such as McDonald's. We need to apply the pressure to the governments and the system. And I believe this is the right way to move forward now. Thank you very much, everybody. You're amazing. And that man that did what he did, hats off to you, my friend. You actually brought tears to my eyes with what you were doing. Thanks very much.